So ETS, the organization behind the TOEFL iBT, has introduced several improvements to the test format starting in July of 2023. And this is done in a move to make the TOEFL iBT an attractive option over other competing exams like the IELTS. And today in this video, I'm going to be diving into these significant changes to the TOEFL iBT and sharing tips on how you can beat this new exam. Let's jump in. Now, before we dive into the big changes, here are some aspects of the exam that remain unchanged. Unsurprisingly, there are still 4 sections of the exam which come in the same sequence of reading first, followed by listening, then speaking and writing. All of these sections are not computer adaptive, meaning the questions do not progressively become more difficult or less difficult depending on your real-time performance. The scores in each of the 4 sections will be graded on a 0 to 30 point scale, where the maximum combined TOEFL score will be 120. And as a spoiler alert, the speaking section remains unchanged. Now let's start with the changes to the reading section. The reading section of the new TOEFL iBT now features only 2 reading passages with 10 questions per passage, compared to the previous format that had up to 4 passages, each of which contained 10 questions, where one of the 4 passages was the unscored experimental section. But as a test taker, you couldn't really tell which of the reading passages was the experimental passage because it was never identified. As a result, you were forced to treat each reading passage like it was a scored passage. But with the removal of this unscored experimental passage and 1 second passage, the time to complete the reading passage is now reduced from 72 minutes down to 35 minutes. The format of these questions remains unchanged. Hey, if you're ready to embark on the exciting journey of studying abroad in the United States, I have a gift for you. Make sure you're fully prepared by downloading our free ebook, The International Student's Guide to Studying in the United States. Inside, you're going to find a comprehensive roadmap detailing everything you need to know to succeed. So don't miss out. Click the link in the description section below to grab your free copy now. Now let's get back to the video. In the new TOEFL iBT format, the listening section now consists of exactly 28 questions, compared to the previous TOEFL iBT with up to 39 questions. And just like in the previous reading section, the previous listening section also included the unidentified experimental section. Now, this reduction in questions cuts out up to 21 minutes from the previous listening section. However, note that the test format remains largely the same, with test takers listening to a combination of lectures and conversations, some of which could include speakers with different accents. Now let's discuss the speaking and writing sections. As for the speaking section, as mentioned earlier, there are no changes to this section. So just like before, test takers will have to complete 2 tasks, the first being the independent task and the second being the integrated task. The total time to complete both tasks is going to be the same at about 16 minutes. As for the writing section, the number of tasks remains, well, the same. However, ETS has introduced a new writing task called a writing for an academic discussion. This task now replaces the previous independent writing task. In this new task, test takers will be asked to state and support an opinion on a given topic in an online class discussion. Now, from the perspective of ETS, this new writing task format better reflects the current academic landscape and the types of writing students may encounter in their studies. All in all, with the new format of the writing section, test takers will now spend a maximum of 29 minutes compared to 50 minutes in the previous version of the TOEFL iBT. So as you can see, this new iBT test format offers a more streamlined and efficient testing experience with a shorter test time of under 2 hours. And as you prepare for the updated exam, it is important to familiarize yourself with these changes and adjust your study plan accordingly. So to set you up on the right path, here are some tips to help you prepare for the new TOEFL iBT. First tip for you is to practice reading passages from various academic disciplines to improve your reading comprehension and your speed. And as you prep for the listening section, it is important to listen to a variety of audio materials such as podcasts, news programs, and academic lectures. It is also important to work on your note-taking skills, as that can be very helpful for capturing essential information during the listening and the speaking sections. And of course, with the new changes to the writing section, you should familiarize yourself with the new writing task format by practicing writing responses to academic discussion prompts. I'm going to leave a link in the description section below where you can find official ETS practice questions on the new writing task. And most importantly, you want to use helpful learning resources that offer several simulated TOEFL iBT practice tests to familiarize yourself with the TOEFL iBT structure and to work on your stamina for this 2-hour-long exam. And speaking of resources, seeing as all TOEFL iBT question types will remain the same except for the one writing task. The prep material from the previous TOEFL IBT is still a valid resource, and you can use that as you prepare for the current TOEFL IBT. So if you've already invested in TOEFL IBT prep materials, or you have access to resources from prior years, don't worry, these materials are still excellent for test preparation. Just be sure to familiarize yourself with the new writing task format and adjust your study plan accordingly. Now over here at Sojourning Scholar, we have personally purchased and reviewed over a dozen TOEFL IBT prep courses and more than a dozen TOEFL prep books. So if you are preparing for a high TOEFL score, watch this video next that appears on the screen, where I give you an in-depth review of some of the best TOEFL prep books and courses available. Catch you later.